Okay, so imagine, if you will. No, this isn't actually the Twilight Zone, but the lore behind all the characters in my legacy is that they are all part of a secret organization hidden from the galaxy at large. So imagine if they were kind of like a mixture of every type of like secret society that are actually the good guys in like every movie ever. So like think about a mix between like Men in Black and like Doom Patrol, if you've heard of that. Like Doom Patrol is like a group in DC Comics that like takes on like the stuff that's too weird for like the regular heroes, just stuff that's really out there. Like even stuff that's weirder than the stuff that Suicide Squad deals with. I haven't like read a lot of Doom Patrol stuff, but that's what I've heard they deal with. So we're actually not going to enter one right now so I can finish this explanation. So they're basically like that. So this organization does not care about ruling the galaxy. It's not like the Republic who wants to benevolently rule the galaxy or the Empire that wants to malevolently rule the galaxy. They don't care about the war. You know, different people of their members may have an opinion one way or the other, but they know that the organization comes first and they don't really care who wins the war. They just need somebody leading the people because they cannot devote resources, they cannot devote members to leading the people of the galaxy and making sure there's structure and law and things because they're too busy saving it. This organization deals with the things that the Jedi, the Sith, the Republic, and the Empire cannot deal with: threats to the galaxy, threats to the Force itself. So it is full of Jedi, Sith, bounty hunters, smugglers, Imperial agents, and troopers. Every single class, because they each have their parts to play. A lot of the people become agents. So whether they're a Jedi or a Sith, or they're in the military on either side, or they're in the underworld, like if they're like a bounty hunter or a smuggler, they keep their ears to the ground, right? And if they hear something that's brewing, like maybe a Sith that's going to try to take over the Empire who would do way more harm than good, like too harmless to leave alone, or some Republic military leaders planning to create some super weapon that could potentially rip apart the space time continuum. If something goes wrong with it, they hear about some ancient Jedi or Sith that's super powerful and has bad plans, or just, their members feel something malevolent in the Force. They take care of that kind of stuff when it's big, when it's important, and they don't trust the Republic or the Sith to get it done, especially because they're too busy having their war. They handle it. And their view of the Force is interesting. So they believe in balance in the Force. And I don't mean balance between the light and the dark, because the dark side is inherently unbalanced, it's chaos, whereas the light side is inherently peaceful, organized. But in their eyes, the Jedi and the Sith are both unbalanced. Not unbalanced as in one is light and one is dark, but that in both of their belief systems, they sway too much toward one way or the other. Right? They believe in using their emotions and feeling their emotions like the Sith, but they also believe in controlling oneself and doing good like the Jedi. So, how there's legacy abilities and stuff. So, if you are balanced, you can use powers from all sides of the Force and no sides of the Force. And here's what I mean: people think that, oh, they say, for instance, um, like Force Choke and Force Lightning is a dark side power, and other things are light side powers. Like maybe I don't even know, because there's not really a lot of stuff that's specifically a light side power. But for the sake of just an example, let's say Force Healing, even though you can Force Heal on the dark side too. It's just a different way. Well, people that are in the organization, which is still yet to be named, still workshopping a name, but we'll get to it, they can use lightning. Even though they don't use the dark side, because they're not using Sith lightning, right? And they can heal, but not because they're on the light side, because they're not using Jedi healing. See, when you're unbalanced in the Force, you can only have access to certain abilities. Because you swing too far in one way or the other, you can't reach the other abilities. When you're balanced, not between the light side and the dark side, but balance in this case means actually obeying the will of the Force and keeping balance, as in keeping peace where you can, but having to use, war to take out threats when you have to, but not like using the dark side, not using like rage and lusting for power, but just doing what's necessary, helping people, doing good, but also knowing when a threat needs to be taken out, but following the will of the Force and staying balanced, using your emotions, but not letting them control you, type thing. But they don't use the dark side. They're inherently light side beings, but they are not unbalanced and dogmatic like the Jedi are. So basically, because they're balanced, they can use powers from across all the major Force using camps, except for it's not, Sith lightning, it's Force lightning, if that makes sense. They are using the balanced version of the powers. So it's not dark side Force choke, it is balanced Force choke. So all the characters make decisions sometimes that would be considered light side, sometimes considered dark side. It's all about the will of the Force and balance, but they do not use the dark side. So it's different than Grey Jedi in the original concept of balance in the Force, because the dark side is inherently selfish and creates disorder and chaos, which is the opposite of what the Force wants. So now that that long explanation is over, we will start building the family tree. And since we're doing that now, we can also queue up for war zones again. It all starts with Nitsuamar, the first, the original. Good Jedi through and through. Well, does it start with Nitsuamar? Does it? I'm not sure if I want it to. But we'll say Nitsuamar has a brother named Clorvun. No, they were both in the Jedi Order together. Nitsuamar was a good Jedi, did all the Jedi stuff. Clorvun, well, he had a different thing in store for him, because he fell in love with a Sith assassin named Nardonia. And they got married, and because of that, they were both kicked out of their respected orders and they were hunted. They did not find the organization, though, at least not until later on. See, what happened was they had a kid named Nitsua, who is kind of the why is that there? Oh, move. Oh, it's connected to the. Well, we're gonna make it your child, and we'll do a war zone, and then we'll come back for it. So to kind of finish out that story, they had a kid named Nitsua who was taken from them at a young age, right? And the Jedi said they did it to keep him out of the hands of the Sith and a former Jedi. They stole their kid because he had Force power, very powerful in the Force, and they said he is too dangerous to be raised by a former Jedi and a former Sith. So you know that Jedi arrogance that leads them to steal children? Yeah. Not cool, I know. But then we have to get to Nitsua's life, right? We have to get to Nitsua's life, and we'll do that after this war zone. And then this is probably the last one we'll do, and we'll finish building out the family tree. Of our Black Ops Men in Black Doom Patrol-ish organization that still does not have a name. Now, there are several secret organizations in the galaxy already if you go through the storylines, but I'm not going to like jack any of their names, for mine because it's unique, and this is the headcanon I have developed over years and years and years and years. Ooh, I leveled up again. Let me run. Protect me. Thank you. But yeah, basically, I hope I iterated this enough, but like the whole organization is like, you know, we don't care whether the Republic or the Empire rules the galaxy. Somebody just has to keep order so we can keep the galaxy protected. Because if there's no order, right, if there's anarchy, they'd have to like step in and do something, and then all these threats to the galaxy that the Jedi and the Sith can't actually handle would become bigger problems before the organization could stop them, and then really bad things would happen across the galaxy. And I know there's some crazy stuff that happens later on with the DLC, and we'll work that into the narrative once we get there. For right now, we're going to take the galaxy as it is, which is in peacetime. Not like planned peace, right? Well, kind of, but both sides just were kind of like, yeah, we had some pretty big battles. Let's have a peace for now, but we know the Republic and the Empire both want to break the treaty, and they have been, like, secretly. On both sides. Nobody's innocent in this war. And I'm about to die. We have more than them, I believe. Are we yellow? I don't even know. Yeah, we are. So we have more, so we are winning. But yeah, that's kind of the whole concept behind my legacy. And more or less, all of the characters that I create are in it, or at least connect to the organization somehow, like lore-wise. Connects them, it brings them all together. So, it all starts with Nitsuamar and Clorvoon, two brothers, both strongly gifted in the Force, trained to become Jedi. Nitsuamar, always the perfect Jedi, always the role model, better than Clorvoon at being a Jedi in nearly every single way. Clorvoon works hard to be a good Jedi, and then he comes across Nardonia, a Sith assassin. They fight each other. She nearly kills Clorvoon. So that's what he looks like, by the way. This is Nitsuamar. This is Nardonia. But in the midst of fighting, they realize that there's a connection between them. And they fall in love. They fathered a child. This child is taken from them when the Jedi hunt them down and steal their child. Clorvoon and Nardonia barely make it out alive. And in fact, because they got married, the Jedi hunt them down to bring them to quote-unquote justice, and the Sith bring them down to kill them. The Jedi thought, well, this child cannot be raised, this child powerful in the Force, because two Force users getting married very often produce very powerful Force-sensitive children. And even from birth, this child was very strong in the Force. So the Jedi naturally think, this child cannot be allowed to be raised by a former Jedi turned to the dark side, or so they think, and a former Sith. They do not know that Nardonia also left the Sith to be with Clorvoon. So they attack them, They try to bring them to justice, but they get away. Clorvune and Nardonia get away, but they steal their baby. Very tragic, very sad. And the Jedi think they're justified in this terrible act. So they give this baby to Nitsuamar to raise. Nitsuamar, who had been told that his brother fell to the dark side and had joined the Sith. And they say, take this, this is their child. We want you to raise him to be a Jedi, just as good and just as great as you. So Nitsuamar names the child Nitsua after himself. And so he raises Nitsua to be a Jedi. But Nitsua has some of his father's tendencies in him. And he realizes, and that's my phone going off. Sorry, guys, I keep forgetting about my alarms. But growing up, Nitsua asks questions. He knows that Nitsuamar is his uncle, and he asks questions like, well, where are my parents? And he says, Jedi aren't supposed to have children, then why am I here? Who birthed me, right? Nitsuamar kind of answers the questions without answering the questions, doesn't really give him information. Nitsua knows he's not being told things. And he grows up, trains, tries to be a good Jedi, but he feels like he just doesn't fit in or belong there for some reason. And Nitsua is the main man, the protagonist of the story, so to speak. And as he gets older, he's still training for a Jedi, but he doesn't agree with everything, including the whole Jedi aren't allowed to have love and form attachments thing. He's also super powerful in the Force, just very, very powerful. So, he doesn't really let it go to his head, but, some people treat him differently because of that. Some people like him more and sense his potential. Some of the students he grew up with are jealous of him because of his power. Jedi aren't perfect, and obviously they stole a child. They're not all they're cracked up to be sometimes. But eventually, through his journeys, Nitsua discovers the organization and he joins it. He's the first one of his family that joins it because he's finally, an organization that has an understanding of the Force that I can get behind, that I can understand, that makes sense. This is the will of the Force. This is how Force users are supposed to act. The Force is not something to be manipulated. The Force gives us power, and we can use it as a tool, as a weapon for offense, and a shield for defense, but only if we follow the will of the Force. The Sith are all about using the Force for their own gain. The Jedi should be following the will of the Force, but they are subservient to the Republic. The Force is greater than any government, any political organization. The Jedi don't seem to get that, but the organization does. So he joins them wholeheartedly. He joins them, he goes to the initiation, they trust him, he becomes an agent, and, he goes back to the Jedi. He was just missing for a bit, but they find him. But now he's an agent in the Jedi, still doing stuff for the Jedi because he's an agent and he has to stay close to the Jedi so he knows what's going on if there's a threat that he needs to tell the organization about. Along the way, he figures, I need to find my parents. Right? Well, after he joins the organization, and the organization tells him some things about his true history, because they know about his history. Do they know where his parents are? No, they've done a pretty good job hiding, but they gave him some places to start. So now that he knows some things about his parents, like kind of what happened, but not everything that went down, he is still with the Jedi, and he wants to confront his uncle Nitsuamar about all this stuff he was never told, but he doesn't want to do it in a way that gets him banned from the Jedi Order or hunted like his parents because he still needs to be a good agent. But while he's on missions and stuff, he searches for his parents. And one day he finally does find them and they reunite. It's very wonderful. Tears are shed. by all of them, and they're family again. He introduces them to the organization, which they both readily and gladly join. Some of this I am making up on the spot, but it doesn't matter because it sounds really good. At least I'm enjoying it. I would say that after he finds his parents, he's confronted by Nitsuamar because Nitsuamar has been watching him. And Nitsua tells him everything he knows, everything his parents told him. And Nitsuamar's like, lies. My brother joined the Sith. And Nitsua said he never joined the Sith. He ran away with the Sith. But she also left the Sith Order because she didn't like the brutality of it, the evilness of it. Nardonia was she was a former slave, so when she became a Sith, she was very power hungry, and she was very cruel and reveled in power like the Sith, but the more she did it, the more she realized that she was just becoming like the people that had treated her terribly when she was a slave. And she didn't like all the infighting and backstabbing and power mongering in the Sith Empire. The more power she gained and the greater understanding she grew, because it ended up being her job to like hunt for secrets of the Force and preserve Sith knowledge. She ended up understanding more about the Force than the Sith and how the Force should actually be viewed and used, which was contrary to the Sith's belief. So they both joined the organization. And Nitsuamar says, I'm still a Jedi. I won't join you, Nitsua. I have to tell the Council. And because of that, Nitsua actually duels Nitsuamar and beats him. Right? Remember, he's a very powerful Force user, birthed by two powerful Force users. You know, second generation. After he beats Nitsuamar, he says, I do not wish to hurt you. My organization is not about needless cruelty, though I need to stay in the Order, not to harm it, but to protect the entire galaxy. My cause is greater. It's bigger than all of this. The Republic, the Empire, the Jedi, the Sith, this is beyond all of that. This is to protect the galaxy and the Force itself. And after the battle, Nitsumar knows he's beaten, and he says, you know, I sense the way you used the Force in that battle, and it seems like you are happier, more at peace than ever. He says, I will not join you, but I will not tell the Council. I believe you that your intentions are pure, but show sign of darkness or treachery towards the Jedi Order, and I will do what must be done. Nitsua says, okay. So Nitsuamar didn't join the Order, but he's not going to tell on Nitsua for being in the Order, so, you know, he's kind of keeping his secret. So that's all of that there. Nitsua. Alright, where do we want to go next? See, we have a lot of people that aren't Force users, so Nardonia, let's say that is a trooper. Alright, let's say Nitsuamar has ties with a trooper, Talmoran. They are friends. Yeah. They are allies. He actually ended up marrying a fellow trooper. And, you know, because of Talmoran's connection with Nitsuamar and things, Nitsua goes to Nitsuamar one day and says, hey, we need some muscle for this mission we're doing. It's very important. Do you have any troopers you can spare? And he says, you know, I think I might. He invites Talmoran, who joins, sees the organization for what it is, and agrees to join. And he's already married to Veluma at this point, and she joins as well. They have a child. Yeah, where did that go? No, not rival. Child that becomes a smuggler, Normaeakin. Now, let's see, because you can't connect everything. And I'm trying to like do this in a way where they can see it. So let's say they don't have a kid for now, or we're gonna go over here to Nardonia, who is friends with this Imperial agent Tarnaicus. After she joined the Order, she goes to Tarnaicus because he's done a lot for the Imperial intelligence, and he's kind of seen the corruption of the Empire. She tells him about this organization, and he's looking for a better cause to believe in. Right? He was actually on the run because after he had done so much for the Sith Empire, they tried to kill him. He knows too much. My mouse would work. Why? What's going on with this? There we go. They are allies. And actually, we're going to change up the story a little bit. They're still allies. He joins the organization because of the whole thing I mentioned earlier with Mitsua and everything. But Tarnaicus actually falls in love with and marries Voluma, who also joins the Order, right? Because she's like, I know you, you're an Imperial spy. And he says, I don't do that anymore. I'm actually here to help people and save the galaxy. So she falls in love with him and marries him. She deserts the Republic military, so now she's kind of hunted, just like Tarnaicus is also hunted by the Empire because he knows too much. But regardless, they have a daughter named Arkzana. Okay. And we're almost there. We're figuring it out. This guy marries her. This smuggler marries this Imperial agent. Now, she was raised in the organization because she's from Gen 2. Well, if they don't become... Okay, yeah, he's actually older than her. Like, she's probably very young because he enters the organization and then his parents do. And then they meet Tarnaicus, who also does. And then they have a child who's raised in the organization. And then she becomes an Imperial agent because she's a spy. Tarnaicus knows how dangerous it is, but he also has a lot of faith and trust in his daughter's ability, so he lets her do it. And her mother, Voluma, is tough as nails. So he's like, this is dangerous. I'll try to protect you as much as I can. I'll teach you as much as I can about being an Imperial agent. Just be safe. Don't let them get you. Right? She marries a smuggler named Normaikin. And while they're dating and stuff, she's like, I think I can trust you enough to introduce you to the Order. And he's like, sure, and he joins it because he's all for a good cause. He's a smuggler, but he was really more a smuggler to help people, less about the money. So we have 5 characters left. All right. All right. How are we gonna work this out? Don't worry, we're almost there. We're gonna work this out. Yugori, who is a bounty hunter, is actually the brother of Voluma. They were raised in the same household. Yep, Voluma looks like this. I don't know if I can zoom in on her. I cannot. They have the same... Yeah, they were raised by their father. They have the same father, but they have different mothers, which is why, they look significantly different. He became a bounty hunter, and she became a trooper. She never really looked down on him for it or anything. Like, they were still cool. They talked all the time and stuff because, Igori wasn't like in the Sith Empire or anything. He was just a bounty hunter. That's just what he decided to do. And she was kind of like, I don't necessarily agree with everything bounty hunters do, but I know and respect my brother. And then once she joined the organization after meeting Tornaeus and everything, those kind of preconceptions came out the window, and she met him and they reconciled, and he joined the order. He let's see. I want to say that he married Kaishana. He already had his daughter, Yakashta. She was a baby when he met Kaishana. He had actually fallen in love with a bounty, and they got married, and they had a kid together. And then because there's still a bounty on her head, they were attacked and she was killed tragically. So he kind of wandered, and that's the point where Voluma finds him again, and he finds purpose again in joining the order. And it helped that he did have a good amount of credit, so he could help out the order with them. So we felt like he could donate and do good for them. After that is when he met Kaishana, brought her into the order. She married him, and they raised Yakashta together, who is a bounty hunter, who is also an agent. All three of them are kind of still out and about in the galaxy, right? So there are some people in the organization that kind of live in the headquarters, in the different bases they have around. They're kind of like temples and stuff because the Force and everything. But people with the Force, people without the Force are treated equally. There's Force users and non-Force users on the council, or whatever kind of like a governing like order of people they have on the council that like make decisions. Kind of like the Jedi Council or the Sith Council or the Senate, the Republic Senate and stuff. But it has Force users and non-Force users because they both bring different skills to the table. They both have their different strengths and weaknesses, and they all come from different walks of life, so that everybody's opinions can be considered for things. But all three of these guys are still kind of out and about in the galaxy. Yagori's always been a man of action. Tornaeus and Voluma cannot be out and about. They can't, be in the Republic military because she's AWOL and he's being hunted by the Empire. So they're both doing very secretive spy stuff for the organization. They're like shadows going around the galaxy gathering information. Their kids are agents. Arxana and Normaican, who's just a random smuggler she fell in love with. But all three of these guys are all agents still traipsing around the galaxy. And actually, Kaishana and Normaican, they might be friends, They're both smugglers. They travel in circles. They're in the organization, so they've probably met. Now we need to get to Valva. The love. The absolute love of Mitsua's life. Loves her more than anything. See, Valva was a Sith. Powerful Sith. Very strong in the Force. She did not have the best home life before she was taken to be trained by the Sith, but she, even with the Sith, wasn't necessarily power hungry. She didn't agree with the Jedi, right? She didn't like the Jedi, but she also didn't love the Sith, and she just wanted to make the Sith better. She was going to try to reform the Sith and the Empire from within. She saw the corruption and saw how impossible it was, but was still going to try. But while she was kind of training and stuff, right, you see, the organization spotted her. She was a rare Sith. They said, oh, a Sith that is kind and gentle and doesn't really believe the way the Sith do. Just like they were watching Nitsua from afar, and eventually a point came in both of their lives where they were contacted by the Order and asked to join to do the initiation. So Nitsua was a Jedi that didn't agree with all their teachings. Valva was a Sith who was secretly but fervently trying to reform the Sith and the Empire. Right? So they both were contacted by the Order. They both got in, and that's how they met and fell in love. And his parents were actually there for the wedding because they were engaged by the time he found them again. But he got them into the Order, and they were there for the wedding. It was very, very beautiful. Uh, Nitsuamar even showed up to the wedding. Had to do it kind of secret and stuff, but he was there. There with his support. Will Nitsuamar ever join the Order? Who knows? But he doesn't, he's he's slowly gained a more favorable opinion of them over the years. Now we have to figure out where to fit Cloravania, a Jedi Shadow, also a Togruta. I kind of want to make her the daughter of these two, but like this is the main man, right? Like he doesn't have kids yet, Like their stories still need to be told. I don't need 3 generations. I want 2. Nah, no, I'm gonna do it, right? Because I can worry about the lore and stuff for that later. I'm gonna be making multiple Force users. Yeah, and I'm still gonna have to make somebody to be married to Tom Warren too, and someone to marry Yakashta. But this is how it stands now. Maybe, it would be interesting. Huh. I like the story I made for Tom Warren though. I kind of want to move him around and like put him in a position where he could be married to Cloravania, but I'm gonna say that she is the child of Valva and Nitsua. Valva is a DPS, Nitsua is a tank. Um, he's a Jedi Guardian, she is a Sith Marauder, but Cloravania is a Jedi Shadow, and she's actually a Jedi Shadow tank, like her papa, because she likes defending people and keeping people safe, like her papa and her mom, But her mom's very much, you know, I save people by making sure the bad guys are dead kind of person. And Itsua just wants to keep everyone he loves safe. So there is the lore, the legacy, and the family tree so far. I like all my characters to be married, so I'll probably make another character to be married to Yakashta, and another character to be married to Talmorin. Maybe I'll make them Force users, right? Because, like I said, in the organization, there is no people with the Force are better with people without it, especially in this era of the galaxy where there's like thousands of Jedi and Sith. So yeah, they have Force powers, but when there's that many around and you're in constant war, even if you use blasters, you're gonna figure out ways to kill Jedi and Sith, right? Like it's not a fair game in the prequels or the original trilogy, just because there's not a war going on and stuff, and it's a different time in the galaxy, right? Where the Jedi are kind of just basically like superheroes, right? But in this era, there's war and there has been war. So troopers, Imperial agents, they're so skilled that, yeah, it's harder for them to fight a Jedi or a Sith. They definitely have the advantage. But these guys are also heroes, right? And they're at the top of their game. They're the best in their fields. So they can fight Jedi and Sith, especially being part of the organization. They know techniques that other people don't to fight Jedi and Sith. But the playing field is a lot more even in this era than in other eras of Star Wars. With that being said, yeah, Tomorin will probably get someone to marry that's a Force user, and Akashta probably will too. Because I realize it's just been like blaster characters and Force wielding characters that have been married, and it doesn't need to just be like that. So we'll create more characters, just not right now. This stream has gone on a lot longer than I had planned it to, but it was nice because once I started with the lore and the explanation, I didn't want to stop. So this was a very big expedition dump at the end without a lot of action, but I still hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, that is it for the stream. But now you see where Kaishana fits into all of this. She has, yeah, she was raised. Yeah, she was raised in the organization. That's her story. That's why I said the ship was a gift. She trained hard and worked, and she was chosen to be an agent in the smuggler world, the underworld, right? So once Yugori joins, they're going to meet, right? At this at this point, he might already be in the organization, but they just haven't crossed paths yet. She was raised in it. He found new purpose in it. They're going to meet and fall in love, basically. So we're playing a Gen 1 character right now, as you can see. So that is where Kaishana fits into the story. She was born and raised in the organization. She believes in it wholeheartedly, and that's why she wants to get as much money as she can so the organization can continue to have funds to do its work, because, you got to get around the galaxy, and to do that, you need credits. You got to buy ships and everything and that kind of stuff. It just makes things easier, right? There's a huge fund, and that's how they can provide for their people that are agents and stuff, so they don't necessarily have to make money all the time. They still do make their own money, like out and about in the galaxy and stuff, but the organization will always give them money when they need it. I mean, that's why the organization has like a big treasure vault of cash that's protected by some very powerful people, because they have a lot of credits on hand, but they can always use more. So her goal is to become rich so she can give, well, I mean, she's going to keep a lot of it for herself, but she's also going to give a lot to the organization, because she truly believes in their cause and in protecting people. So that is it for tonight. Like I said, this last part was a lot of information without a lot of action or gameplay, but I really hope you enjoyed it, because now you really understand what all these characters are, what they're going through, and kind of the secret lore behind it. And so you'll see that come out in the role play as we make choices in the stories going forward for all the characters. So I really hope you enjoyed it, and that is it for tonight's stream, guys. Again, my name is Nicholas Khan, and we are out, Khan Clan.